You're listening to Words vs. Words with Friends podcast, a fun interactive podcast where we challenge your mind and perspective using everyday words and phrases. You haven't heard a podcast like this before. It's more than a discussion, it's a debate. Now let's join hosts Jolene Santiago and Shamika Montgomery for an all-new episode.
Hi, welcome to Words vs. Words with Friends podcast. This is a fun, interactive podcast where we challenge your mind and perspective using everyday words and phrases. I am so happy. We're so happy that you can join us tonight. Thank you for being a part of another episode. I'm your host, Jolene Santiago, and I have my co-host here, Shamika Montgomery.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to Words vs. Words with Friends podcast. We hope you guys had an awesome week this week. We are so glad that you have joined us tonight. Words vs. Words with Friends is a podcast created to bring back the real art of conversation. We're going to create dialogue and also help you think outside the box. So for tonight, we have priority versus requirement. We're going to look at scenarios, dissect the scripture. We ask that you would join us, give us some feedback, tell us what you think. So for priority, we have a thing that is regarded as more important than another. And then for requirement, we have a thing that is needed or wanted. So Joe, we're going to hop into this first scenario because this one is juicy. It's going to be very difficult to figure out which one it should be because they coincide together. So for our first scenario, going to take a look at that one. We have child support versus fixing a car. So for this scenario, we have a person is ordered to pay child support, but their car breaks down at the end of the month when child support is due. Would paying child support be a requirement or would it be a priority? Joe, what you think?
I'm going with priority. I'm going with because it's regarded as more important than another. It does not matter what happens. Hey, you know what? Your car breaks down. You could walk to work, but you know what? That child support is going to get paid.
Well, see, I think that it is a requirement. And the reason why is because when it comes to paying child support, now keep in mind, your girl had to do some research because I do not have children and never had to pay child support. So I had to research a little bit. But when it comes to child support, that has to be a requirement. That is required by law. So it doesn't really matter about anything else. It's a requirement. You gotta give up them funds. You know what I'm saying? You gotta pay child support. It is required. And if you don't pay it, there's a lot of things that can happen. You can go to jail. You can go to prison. You can get your license revoked. There are so many things that can happen to you that will affect you. So if you lose your license, let's just say you're a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever, you lose your license and you can't practice, then you won't have any money, then you can't surely pay child support. So I think that's why it is a requirement.
But think about it this way, Shamika. I want you to think about it. The court thinks that it's a priority because they find it that it is necessary. It is important. They don't want to hear the excuse that you lost your job. You don't have a job. They're not hearing it. So if they feel that it's a priority, you have to do it, then it should be a priority for your life as well.
No, but that's the thing, though. By law, it's a requirement. You see what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying about it's a priority, but the thing is, it's a requirement. Like, I don't know every state and all their rules, but you have to pay child support because, like you said, it's not your fault that the car broke down. You can't control certain things, but guess what? Those kids, they still got to get fed. They still have to be taken care of. So it doesn't matter what happens to you. You're going to have to figure it out because it's required for you to pay that child support unless you want to get locked up and have everything else happen to you that would just take away your livelihood.
But you know what? So many people, I mean, yeah, okay, it's a requirement. If we want to look at it from that point of view, okay, it's a requirement. But if it's a requirement, there are so many people that aren't paying it. Why? Because it's not, to them, it's not a priority, and it should be a priority. It does not matter. You know what I'm saying? Because if something is a requirement, okay, you have to do. I get that. But when you make it number one on your list, you're going to do everything in your power to get it done. You know
So what you're
saying?
saying is that state requirement makes it a priority? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, just because you're required to do it doesn't necessarily mean it gets done.
That's true. It does not, but you are still required to do it though. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have any other choice. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I actually know a person who had to pay child support, and you're right, it was not a priority to him. He left those little statements over in the side of his car. And he never opened them up or nothing, but guess what? That's gonna catch up with him because as he goes on later in life, they're gonna garnish his wages. You know what I'm saying? What if he tries to retire? Like, they're gonna get their money back. You know what I'm saying? So it is a requirement. Like, you need to do that because it's gonna affect all areas of your life, even in the future. Yes, so it's a requirement that needs to be taken care of, period.
There's serious consequences that come with that. Like, absolutely. If you want to be real, like, I mean, you don't, like you said, you don't. And let's say the kids are grown and they're adults. And guess what? It finally caught up. And guess what? You got to pay it. You know what I mean? So, guys, if you're tuning in tonight, hey, we want to hear what you have to say. Paying child support, is that a priority or a requirement?
So we have a comment from the producer. He says, ladies, if you owe child support in the scenario given, which would you take care of then?
Like, so I mean, I know, like, okay, you need your car to get to work. I get it. You need your car. Like, I get it. So that you can have a job, you can make money, and you can pay child support. I get it. But you know what I'm saying? You can go without fixing a car. You know what I'm saying? I could take the bus to work. I could walk. I could call for my friends to give me a ride to work. Like, there are other ways. So I may not be able to afford getting my car fixed right now, I can save the money to be able to do that later. But guess what? I mean, me not fixing my car isn't going to get me locked up. Me not paying child support is going to get me locked up.
Absolutely. And the thing is, let's throw another wrench in it. What if you work from home? Then you ain't got to worry about having a vehicle because you work from home. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Like, yeah, that's a solution to the problem. But yeah, like you said, no. It is a requirement that will catch up with you eventually. You don't want to end up going to prison or jail. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to have a warrant against you. You don't want to be pulled over and get your driver's license taken. Because guess what? If they take your license, guess what? It don't matter if you have a car or not, because you can't go nowhere. So it all plays together. But it starts with a requirement, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody. There's somebody that I know that. She didn't have, the father didn't pay child support the whole time, pretty much the whole kid's lives, and so finally was forced to, 90,000 in arrears. Guess what? They're grown, and guess what? He has to pay child support. So, you're right, it does catch up. But I mean, I see it's a requirement, I get it. But like, you can be required to do something, but it still not get done. You know what I'm saying? I would rather be faced with doing something that is more of a priority, because what is more important than your kids? What's more important than meeting the needs of your children? I mean, come on. Right. There's a lot of things, like their health, they need to be well taken care of, medical insurance, food, you know what I'm saying? Like, they need to be taken care of. Children are expensive. It is a combined effort. It's a joint effort of both parents. You know what I'm saying? Not just one to do all the work, because it's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, and something else I want to bring up too, when it comes to paying the child support, it can affect your credit score, which is going to affect, if you're able to purchase another vehicle since your car broke down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna affect you being able to purchase a home. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the question. Okay, so if it was me, I probably would get the car fixed.
But then you're not going to have enough money. You're not going to have enough money to pay child support. Then you're going to get behind.
But I guess I look at it at the fact that I need the vehicle to get to work, though, if I'm not working from home. So I guess in that aspect, and then also I think, you have to make it a priority, but I think it just depends on the person too. Like the friend I talked about, he let his just pile up. It's gonna catch up to him if he hasn't taken care of it already. Now for me, I probably will get the car fixed, but I will make it a priority. You know what I'm saying? I'll make it I will make it a priority to not, get behind. And we want to get that comment. I think we had a comment from Mike. Hey, Mike, thank you for joining. He said it's both a requirement and priority. Exactly. So, Mike, that's what makes it so fun. Is because they are so closely tied together. It's like, okay, is it a priority? Is it a requirement? And then of course when the producer asked me which one you gonna do, I'm like, well, I mean, I would get the car fixed because I have to get to work so that I can make it a priority to pay my child support. See?
So what you're really saying is that you don't mind getting locked up because you didn't pay your child support. That's what you're trying to say.
No, it's not that. What I'm saying is I'm going to make it a priority not to get further behind. So whatever it is that I have to do to take care of that, that's what I'm going to do. Now that first priority might be getting my vehicle fixed first because I have to go to work so I can provide for my family, my kids, my household or whatever. But I'm going to make sure I don't get behind. I don't care what it is that I have to do. I'm going to make sure I stay caught up on it because it does affect you in the long run. And what if you 90 years old and you like, man, I just want to chill, what I'm saying? Chill in the cut. I'm 90, I'm old, and they just taking all your little money. And what if they try to lock you up at 90?
Look, what? No, look, you get your car fixed and then it breaks down again. What you gonna do? You're gonna keep paying it? You're gonna keep fixing your car? You know what I'm saying? Well, so, I mean, I know look, obedience is better than sacrifice. Hey, you know what? It's better to obey. The word of God says, you need to take care of your family. If you don't take care of your family, you're worse than an infidel. I mean, it's plain.
I get that. And we had another comment. I think it was from Mike.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read that scenario again right after this. Go ahead.
So Mike says, depending on which state jail is not. Exactly. So I did read that too. I don't know all the different rules. So yeah, you might not go to jail. I know for sure Texas is huge on child support. Like they are not for play. You know what I mean? When it comes to child support. So I do know, you could end up going to prison or to jail. So
yeah, guys, if you're tuning in, our scenario for scenario number 1 is paying child support or fixing your car. So if a person is ordered to pay child support but their car breaks down at the end of the month when child support is due, would paying child support be a requirement or a priority? So we want to hear what you have to say. What is your perspective? I said it's a priority. Like, it should be number 1. Taking care of your children, number 1. It doesn't matter what happens, you should pay your child support, because then if you get in the habit of putting everything else first, this breaks down, that breaks down, then you're always jumping and getting other things fixed. So to me, it's like your priority is in a different place. So for me, I would pay child support first. I would save money to get my car fixed later because I could ride the bus. I could get a ride, I could walk, or I can even purchase a bicycle and ride my bicycle to work.
I mean, I get it. You have other options, but I still think it is a requirement by law, and then it turns into priority. So yeah, I think it's a requirement first, though.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it's a requirement, okay, I get that. But what if, I mean, I know we're talking about child support, but not everybody who has kids take the other person to court for child support. So if the state did not require it, would you still pay it? Would it become a priority to you then? At that point, or...
I can't lie, it would absolutely be a priority because I would want to make sure that the kids are taken care of because, life does happen, cars do break down, we do lose jobs, but either way, they still have to eat, they still have to, have clothes and shelter. So I would make that a priority to make sure that I stayed on top of paying the child support. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And Mike had another comment. I believe he said that hitchhiking is not that easy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
that
that
easy.
easy hitching a ride. So yeah. But
That's
hey,
true.
city bus, city buses is in some areas are cheap. They're very
Hmm.
cheap, so you can probably even get a pass. So to me,
Hmm.
I'm thinking like, is this an excuse? Like, in my mind, is it an excuse?
Hmm.
Or an explanation? Like our
Mm.
past episode, we talked about excuse versus explanation,
We
right? So,
did. We did.
so I mean, you want to go ahead to scenario number 2.
Let's hit it.
All right. Scenario number 2, faith. Faith.
Yes.
So we have a scripture that we're going to read, and it's James 2:26. For just as a body without the spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead.
Hmm.
Which is a requirement and which is a priority? Go ahead, Shamika.
So I think that it is a requirement because you have to have faith when it comes to Christ. He wants you to have that faith. He wants you to have that confidence in him. So he requires that faith. He requires that faith and that trust in him. So I do. I think it's a requirement. Now you can choose to make it a priority, but I think it's a requirement. You have to have faith.
So faith is a requirement. What about works? What about works?
Mm.
Because faith
Well,
without
maybe
works
so,
is
because
dead.
faith
So,
without works is it right. So faith and work have to go together. So
faith and works has to go together.
Mhm.
So, I think that faith would be a priority. Okay.
Mhm.
Or, I would see that maybe they're both, because works is a priority, right? So I would say that they're both a priority. They have to be number one. Your faith has to be number one. Your evidence of your faith is the action behind it, is the work behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because if a person says they have faith and they don't show anything or don't demonstrate it through action, then what is it? Is it really faith?
Mhm.
Faith without works is dead. So for me, God wants us to have faith. It's important for us to have faith. But I think that if we make that a priority in our life, you know what I'm saying? I think our lives would be different. We would walk differently. I think that our relationship with God would be so much different, because we're putting a trust and we're depending on God to do certain things for us. You know what I mean? So I think that has to be like number one.
Well, I looked at the question wrong, so I do apologize about that. Can we get that back up again? Okay, so which is a requirement and which is a priority. So I do think that faith is a requirement. But I don't know that works is a priority though.
But if you don't demonstrate it, if it's not like, okay, if you tell somebody, hey, you know what, I have faith, right? I'm gonna get a job. I believe God's gonna give me a job. I just believe, I'm gonna get one tomorrow. I'm gonna get one before the end of the week. But guess what? I haven't applied. I haven't done anything. Like, I'm sitting on my butt watching TV. I haven't called places. I haven't followed up. Hey, I put in the application. You have this position open. I'm interested in this position. So right there works. Works. But if you don't do anything, it's not going to happen. Some people say they have faith, but they don't demonstrate it through action. You're not going to get anything.
That's true. I get that. Does make sense. It does, and I'm sorry. I absolutely looked at the question wrong, Joe. My bad.
Well, I mean that's okay. I mean,
I did.
what do you
have to
guys
have the
think?
works that go with the faith. You are exactly right.
Exactly. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think that which one do you think? Do you think faith is a requirement, or a priority? I'm sorry, a requirement, yeah, or a priority, or do you think that works is a priority or a requirement? So we definitely want to hear what you have to say. This one's a little tricky, Shamika. This one's
It
tricky
is.
because I get what you're saying. Like, God would require us to do that. I get it, but that's where it stops. That's where, because if you're required to do something, does it really get done?
Yeah, because
Priority.
maybe he's requiring us to make works a priority. You know what I'm saying? Since they do go hand in hand. So he's requiring us to have faith, but then he wants to couple that with the works, because like you said, if you're needing a job, you need to be out there applying. So you have to put the two together. So maybe that's how that works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
Definitely. Um, let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and take a break. And we have another scenario that we're gonna talk about as soon as we get back. Um, we'll see you back on Words versus Words with Friends podcast right after this commercial.
I don't think that you should have to loan out items or share items even as an adult. I think that's when those boundaries do come in place. Those items belong to you. You worked hard for those items. And I think that when it comes to that, you can set your own boundaries when it's up to that. So let's just say they want to borrow your car. Maybe you don't want to let them borrow the car, but maybe a boundary could be, hey, do you need to go somewhere? I can take you, on this certain day between these certain times.
But is that a boundary or is that a limit? Because I see that as a limit. Because when you're saying like no, like there's restrictions, and when you say like no, you can't drive my car, to me, that's a limit. That's not a boundary. A boundary could be like, well, maybe instead of you driving a long distance, maybe you can drive it from point A to point B. So to me, I think that is a boundary because you're setting perimeters, Hey, welcome back to Words versus Words with Friends podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was a clip of last week's episode, Boundary versus Limit. You can check out that full episode on Facebook at WVWWF or any major podcast platform. We also have several episodes in season 1 and season 2 that you can go ahead and check out. So tonight we've been talking about priority versus requirement. And Shamika, are you okay? I mean, I know you had a little bit of brain fog, but were you able to get it together during the commercial? Like, are you okay now?
I was trying to, but I guess I was thrown off by the question because I surely did not look at it correctly. And it did kind of stump me.
Okay, but you're feeling better now, right?
I am. I'm feeling better. Okay. We can move on. Yeah.
All right, so we have another question. I think faith is a requirement and the work is the priority. Faith is what is needed. If you work without faith, how can it come to pass? That's my point exactly. You can say you have faith until your face turns blue. Like you can say, but if you don't demonstrate it through action, it's not going to get done. I don't care. I don't care how much you think about it. I don't care if you think you have telepathy and you be like, hey, I'm gonna think this job into existence. It's not gonna work. You have to put action behind it. I'm sorry. I mean, you're gonna have to be maybe somebody be nice and maybe you beg them for food and maybe they might be nice and give you some. But I mean, it's like that saying, like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
You can't make them drink.
You know what I'm saying? So, or you can give a person a fish, or you can teach them how to fish.
That's true.
Which one do you think is better? I mean, one fish is only going to go so far. You teach a person how to fish, then they can be able to sustain themselves. So I think like faith, you can't just live by that alone. You can't just say I have faith and then that's it. You got to put passion behind it. I'm sorry. You want to eat, you got to go work. Sorry.
And I know we're going to the next one, but I also was thinking about faith. We have to have faith in ourselves as well. We also have to have faith in others. And so the way we exhibit that is trusting them. You know what I'm saying? Like encouraging them, believing in ourselves. So it's important for us to have faith in ourselves and in other people as well. So yeah.
And you know what I wonder too, Shamika? I wonder like if a person is like double-minded, because being double-minded is not okay. How can a person say they have faith but yet through action they don't show it or demonstrate it? So to me, I think that's a person being like double-minded. You're saying one thing, but then you're not believing it through action. You're not, you know what I'm saying? So I think that would be a person who would be like double-minded.
That's true, but I think sometimes our faith is tested too because we're like, Lord, I've been praying for this for such a long time and I really wanted this to come to pass. And so I think when it comes to faith, that's why he is begging for us to have confidence in him and that trust in him that he is going to bring us through whatever situation it is. He is right there by our side. So I think when it comes to faith, yeah, that's one of those things that you have to trust. You
Mm-hmm.
have to.
And you have to keep pressing on too, because sometimes we can be discouraged and sometimes things aren't working out the way that we want them to work out, but we can't give up. We can't have doubt. Doubt is the opposite of faith. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So, you just have faith. I encourage you guys just to have faith. You know what I'm saying? Just get
Mhm.
out there and try, work hard, work hard. It will pay off in the end.
Mhm. We have a
Ron.
comment from Rhonda. Hey, Rhonda. She says more like believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You have to.
All right. So let's go ahead and go to scenario 3. Okay. Tending to a patient or an accident. All right. So there was an article. So I came across this article and I thought, like, wow, like I was just blown away by it. So I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this is so cool. I got to bring this to the show. Okay. So I'm going to read the headline to you. Okay. It says, just doing her job. A Rochester EMT was placed in handcuffs after choosing to prioritize patient over an officer whose parked car was hit by an ambulance door. So there's a clip right there. This officer is arresting her because she chose to tend to the patient instead of tend to his hit car.
Wow.
So so what are your thoughts, Shamika? What do you think? Which one do you think that is? Do you think, hey, tending to a patient? Do you think that that's a requirement or a priority, or do you think that tending to his vehicle um, is a priority or a requirement? Like, which one do you think is which?
So for this scenario, absolutely that was a priority because she pulled up right there with the ambulances and they walk in. That's where you drop the patients off. Like her first priority is to make sure that the patient is okay. Who cares about a vehicle and a car that can be replaced and that can be fixed? And I'm pretty sure she didn't do it intentionally. Her main priority was to make sure that the patient was taken care of. So I do. I think it's priority. And I believe even in the article it says she prioritized making sure that the patient was okay. We could talk
Mm,
about the car later because it can
mm,
be fixed. I'm sure it was a little bitty dent. I just think that he might have been having a bad day. He
mm,
he might have had a power trip. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know. But
mm.
to me it was taken. I feel like it was wrong because yeah. Mm.
Well, Shamika, so looking at it from the officer's perspective, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So just think about it. Like, would it be considered a hit and run? Like, you breaking the law, like you just hit a car, and it doesn't matter, like, I guess in his mind it didn't matter how minor that was. You still hit a vehicle, and so you need to take care of that. So it's like you're kind of fleeing the scene. So I'm just taking it from the police officer's point of view. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that, you know what I'm saying? Because I believe a life is more important, but I'm just saying, in our own perspectives, we all have our own perspectives. But I think
Mhm.
that in his mind, he was like, hey, you know what? That person, somebody else can tend to that person. I need you to take care of what you just did.
And I get that from his point, but my thing is it hit the ambulance door. You know what I'm saying? Like it probably was a little bitty dent. Like who knows what was going on with the patient? Like the main priority as a EMT is to make sure that the patient is okay, regardless of what's going on. And I just feel like, he should have came from the point of he is a public servant. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I would think he would prioritize that as well, because cars and vehicles are replaceable, lives are
Mhm.
not. So I feel like he should have at least put
Yeah.
himself in that situation. What if it was his mom? Now, if it
Mm.
was his mom or his
Ooh.
wife or sister, then what would he want
Ooh.
her to do? I think he should have put himself
Mm.
in that situation.
So we have a comment here. She is a public servant, just like the officer, and the citizen is who they should be protecting first. Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with that. Priority, tend to the patient first. I think that that's a priority. Shamika, would you say that's a requirement? Do you think that she is required?
I do think she's required as her profession. I do think that she is required to make sure that the patient is taken care of first. Because here's my thing. We don't even know if she was going to take care of the patient first, get him settled or whatever, and then go and take care of the issue. You know what I'm saying? She didn't even have a chance to try to rectify the situation. He just came and cuffed her up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, and then I read later that I don't think she got any charges and they let her out. So to me, I'm like, was it just a power trip? Like, were you just trying to, just trying to bow up and be like, I'm a police officer, like, you just did something wrong, I'm supposed to get you. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the situation was, but
abusing the power. Like, is this an example of somebody abusing their power? You know what I mean? So is there some type of like code of ethics? Now I don't know, like, but I think like ethically and morally, like, you would be required. I mean, as a nurse, first of all, like, is there like some code of ethics that needs to be taken, or some type of something that you sign, just stating that, hey, I'm going to, no matter what, if a patient is in need, or a citizen or a person's in need, then I'm going to go ahead and take care of them.
Absolutely. My mom is a nurse. I don't know what all she had to sign, to keep her license and things, but I do know that they are required to put the person who is injured first, regardless of anything else. So guys, we're going to ask for your feedback. What do you think on this scenario, the situation? Do you think what happened was wrong? Do you think it was right? Do you think it was priority or a requirement?
Let's go ahead and read it again. It said, so this is a headline, an actual article. This actually really happened. It said, just doing her job. A Rochester EMT was placed in handcuffs after choosing to prioritize a patient over an officer whose parked car was hit by an ambulance door. So there you go. So there's a clip of the EMT getting arrested because she tended to this patient.
And to me, it's sad too, because if you think about it, what if she was assigned to him for that day? What if there was something else? She needed to stay with him for some reason. You know what I'm saying? And then you just took her away. Like, I'm just thinking, I don't know, for sure, but she could have been assigned his case, for the day. I don't know, but who's to say? And then, like, she's just gone. Like, what does the patient do now?
So we have a comment from Elijah. Hi, Elijah. That's my son. I'm so proud you were able to make it tonight. Thank you. So he said, it's both a priority and requirement for both a police officer and EMT, being that they are here to serve the public, let alone a person in need. Wow. So good, thank you for that, Elijah. So he says it's both. They both have a requirement and a priority to take care of people, to meet their needs.
Yes, exactly. And Rhonda says the police officer was dead wrong. That's her job as an EMT. Exactly, Rhonda. That's what I think too. Like, the patient comes first. Like, people know that's what you say. The patient comes first. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares about material things. It's not worth it.
And I just wonder if he was just, narcissistic, the police officer, like self-centered, because he's worried about him. He's worried about himself. Like, who cares about the car? It's a material thing. You're going to put a car above a person? Like, come on. If they're riding in an ambulance, first of all, what does that tell us? That the person really has a medical issue. They really have a problem. I mean, or else, you would not have to call the ambulance, or you could just, drive in. But I think the severity of it, to even just need an ambulance, really just says a lot.
And I know we can't really maybe tell from that video, but even as she brought him in, I mean, who's to say? She might not even had a chance to check him in yet. You know what I mean? Like, he was just sitting there, because I kind of saw him on the side. Like, he probably was sitting there like, where did she go? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, just give her a chance to at least check him in, then, talk to her or something. But, arresting her, I'm like, really?
Or I wonder if he waited so that she could be on camera. He could be on camera, like, oh, get
Mm.
some attention here. We just had a comment up here. Can you go ahead and flash that again, please? I'm sure he got in trouble for that. Yeah. We hope he got in trouble for that. And if not, like, there has got to be something wrong with our legal system. If not, I mean, come on. There has got to be some type of consequence for that. There has to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, because I read a little bit in the article that I think the police department was saying, don't judge our whole department by his decisions, and things like that. But it's like you're being a bad reflection of your fellow officers, by doing that, by reacting that way. Because you could have resolved it in a different way. There was a lot of other things you could have done. You could have let her at least take care of the patient first, make sure he's good, and then try to talk to her or whatever.
Yeah, it's like one rotten apple spoils the bunch. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's not. We shouldn't look at it like that. We shouldn't look at the whole police department as bad or feel threatened. With everything that's going on these days. I mean, come on. Can you really afford to be looked bad at? We had another comment. Do you think race was an issue? What do you think, Shamika? Jay? Oh, okay.
So I'm not gonna lie. I do. I think that it could be an issue. I don't want to just assume, but the fact that the patient was Black and also the EMT was Black and the officer was white, it makes me look at it like, and the only reason I say that is just because of the temperature of our society today. We are kind of on that boiling point. And there are outrageous things that are happening that make no sense. So little trivial things. Now let's talk about this. If she would have ran into his vehicle, like crashed it, hurt him, I can almost see it a little bit differently. But if she bumped it, like she put a dent in it and you felt like it was okay for you to just and he was aggressive with it. That's my thing. First off, she was an EMT. She was Black. She was a female. Okay. And you were so aggressive with it. My thing is, if you were going to arrest her, you didn't have to, do her like she wasn't resisting.
Yeah.
She was standing there being calm. You know what I'm saying? She didn't fight back. She didn't argue with you. She went with you. She didn't have no other choice, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, it could have been, I don't know all the details of it. I'm outside looking in, but it could have been.
He was forceful. He was forceful. I mean, you shouldn't touch another individual like that. I mean, yeah, she's a lady. Could race be a factor in it? It definitely could be. It definitely could be. I mean, it's not right, and it's so sad that we're still facing racism, in today, 2022, that we're still facing racism. I mean, it's sad, we all have equal rights. Everybody has fought hard. Civil rights leaders, they have fought hard, and we have come very far. We've come really far, when it comes to equal rights and all that. But it's sad that there's still certain individuals that still think and feel that way, and I hope she can get some type of restitution or some type of something out of that, because it's not right. It's
not. And I feel like she went above and beyond. You know what I'm saying? She kept her demeanor. From what we can see, I don't see that she was resisting or trying to fight back or argue or anything. She probably was in shock. Probably like, really, is this really happening? Like, all I'm trying to do is do my job and make sure the patient is okay. You know what I mean? So she could have been in shock, like, what's going on? Because I know I would have been.
Yeah, guys, I would encourage you to go ahead and check that out. It's a really interesting article, just really good. But I was just blown away by it. We have people who are trying to do the right thing and other people who really just make it hard for them. So Shamika, last comments.
So last comments, priority and requirement. these are two really close words. I think that the scenarios were difficult tonight because we have to look at, is it a requirement? Is it a priority? We really want you to think about the priorities that you have in your life. Maybe you have some things that you need to prioritize above another. And so we appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments, the feedback, everyone who joined us tonight. You coming back each week. We really do appreciate it. So you can follow me on Instagram at Mika Lives. You can also follow me on Facebook, Shamika Montgomery.
And you can follow me, Jolene Vasquez. It's the same on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us on Facebook at WVWWF. We also have a new Instagram page. Well, I keep saying new. It's not really just new anymore, but it's WVWWF podcast. So go ahead, like, share. You can also check out past episodes on any major podcast platform. Hey, we have a lot of episodes in season 1, 14, and hey, quite a few here in season 2. So we encourage you to go ahead and check it out. One last thing before we close it out. I want to say happy birthday, Shamika. Shamika's birthday is on Sunday. And I want to say happy birthday. I want to say you're amazing. You have been a wonderful friend. And I hope that you can enjoy I will call it a birthday weekend, because you deserve to be celebrated the whole weekend, not just one day. So we hope, we love you. We love you. Thank you for being a great friend. Thank you for always being there. Really appreciate you. And you are an amazing co-host, and I could not do the show without you. So thank you so much.
No, I couldn't do it without you, sister. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so guys, we invite you to come back every Friday, next Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Facebook. We can't wait to see you, and we want you to know that Words versus Words with Friends is more than a discussion. It's a debate. We'll see you next week. You've been watching Words versus Words with Friends podcast, brought to you by Next 15 Podcast Productions. If you would like to support the podcast, go to next15podcast.com and click the Buy Me Coffee tab, where we will receive your donations of any size. Thank you in advance and for watching the podcast. We will see you next week.